Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at The Alchemist by Ben Jonson, first performed in 1610 and performed fairly regularly from that point onwards in various different contexts and settings, and printed a couple of years later. I think it's registered for printing fairly early on, but doesn't actually necessarily get printed straight away. So yeah, we're going into Act 2. I say we. They have looked into Act 1. They are going to look into Act 2 in my relative absence. So reading the play today, reading Mammon is...
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm currently near Reading in the UK. Really looking forward to this one. Should be interesting.
Reading Surly and Anaias is...
Connor here in London.
Reading Face is...
Hello, I'm Steve, and I'm in London also.
Reading Doll and Drugger is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States.
And reading Subtle today is...
Alan, very rarely accused of being such.
And reading the stage directions and being the host while I disappear from the scene is...
Sarah in Germany. Welcome to The Alchemist, Act 2. If you've just stumbled onto this video, Act 1 is available. Look for that video elsewhere. We started it yesterday. The first act was extremely good fun, and we're going to dive into Act 2 now and see what happens. So, Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Sir Epicure, Mammon, and Surly.
Oh, come on, sir. Now you set your foot on shore in Novo Orbe. Here's the rich Peru, and there, within, sir, are the golden mines, great Solomon's Ophir. You were sailing to it 3 years, but we have reached it in 10 months. This is the day we're in. To all my friends, I will pronounce the happy word. Be rich! This day you shall be spectassimi. You shall no more deal with the hollow die or the frail card, no more be in charge of keeping the livery punk for the young heir that must seal at all hours in his shirt. No more if he deny having beaten to it as he is that brings him the commodity. No more shall thirst of satin or the covetous hunger of velvet entrails for a rude spun cloak to be displayed at Madame Augusta's make. The sons of sword and hazard fall before the golden calf, and on their knees whole nights commit idolatry with wine and trumpets, or go a-feasting after drums and ensign. No more of this. You shall start up young viceroys and have your punks and punketees, my surly. And unto thee I speak it first. Be rich! Where is my subtle air? Within, ho!
Sir, he'll come to you by and by.
That is his first, that is his fire drake, his lungs, his Zephyrus, he that puffs his coals till he furk nature up in her own centre. You are not faithful, sir. This night I'll change all that is metal in my house to gold. Early in the morning will I send to all the plumbers and the pewterers and buy their tin and lead up, and to Lothbury for all the copper.
What? And turn that too?
Yes, and I'll purchase Devonshire and Cornwall and make them perfect Indies. Do you admire now?
No, Faith.
But when you see the effects of the great medicine of which one part projected on 100 of Mercury or Venus or the moon shall turn it as many of the sun, nay, to 1,000, so ad infinitum you shall believe me.
Yes, when I see it, I will. But if my eyes do cozen me so, and I given them no occasion, sure, I'll have a whore, shall piss them out next day.
Why? Do you think I fable with you? I assure you, he that has once the flower of the sun, the perfect ruby, which we call elixir, not only can do that, but by its virtue can confer honour, love, respect, long life. Give safety, valour, yea, and victory to whom he will. In 28 days I'll make an old man of 80.
No doubt. He's already that already.
Nay, I mean, restore his years, renew him like an eagle to the 5th age, make him get sons and daughters, young giants, as our philosophers have done the ancient patriarchs afore the flood, but taking once a week on a knife's point the quantity of a grain mustard of it. Become stout Marcies and beget young Cupids.
The decayed vestals of Pritchhatchard would thank you that keep that fire alive there.
Oh, it is the secret of nature, naturized against all infections, cures, or diseases coming of all causes. A month's grief in a day, a year's in 12, and of what age soever in a month. Past all the doses of your drugging doctors, I'll undertake withal to fright the plague out of the kingdom in 3 months.
And I'll be bound. The players shall sing your praises then without their poets.
I'll do it. Meantime, I'll give away so much unto my man shall serve the whole city with a preservative. Weekly each house is dose and at the rate.
As he that built the waterwork does your with water.
You are incredulous.
Faith, I have a humour. I would not be willing to be gulled. Your stone cannot transmute me.
Pertinax, my surly, will you believe antiquity? Records? I'll show you a book where Moses and his sister and Solomon have written of the art. Aye, in a treatise penned by Adam.
How?
Of the philosopher's stone in High Dutch.
Did Adam write it, sir, in High Dutch?
He did, which proves it was the primitive tongue.
What paper?
On cedar board.
Oh, that indeed they say will last against worms.
Oh, 'tis like her Irish wood against cobwebs. I have a piece of Jason's fleece too, which was no other than a book of alchemy, writ in large sheepskin, a good fat ram vellum, such was Pythagoras' vie, Pandora's tub, and all that fable of Medea's charms, the manner of our work. The balls our furnace, still breathing fire, our Argand vive, the dragon, the dragon's teeth, mercury sublimate, that keeps the whiteness, hardness, and the biting, and they are gathered into Jason's helm, the alembic, and then sowed in Mars' field, and then sublimed so often till they're fixed. Both this, the Hesperian garden, Cadmus' story, Jove's shower, the boon of Midas, Argus' eyes, Boccace his Demogorgon, thousands more, all abstract riddles of our stone.
And Mammon and Surly remain on stage, but that is the end of the scene. So, okay, 2 new characters. We've heard about Sir Epicure before. Dole and Subtle had a little conversation, sort of set the scene for who he was at the end of the last act. But Surly is brand new, I think. I don't think we've had any mention of him before, have we? So he is I assume his sort of companion, his friend in inverted commas.
I think he's a servant.
Is it his servant though? I don't know. Would they talk? Would they talk like this? If does it say that he's a servant in the DP? Let's have a quick look. Surly, where is Surly?
It certainly feels like he is.
Oh, a gamester. No, he's a gamester.
A gamester, right.
So I was going to say, because they're not the kind of way they're talking to each other. It didn't strike me as being particularly servant and master. But he's a gamester. Okay, so one of many. Well, we've already encountered one in this in this play, and do I detect a slight spanner in the works for the first time? Do I detect a slight for the first time ever, like, oh, this something could go wrong with this plot? Because Surly is not like Epicure is not buying it. No, so Epicure Mammon is clearly heavily invested emotionally, and I'm guessing monetarily as well in Subtle creating the Philosopher's Stone for him. But yeah, Sally's not buying it. He's a cynic. So what is this going to do to the con? So far, the cons have played out in a fairly I mean, we've only seen the setup of them. We haven't gone into them in any depth yet, but certainly it's been quite promising. The two marks have been very gullible. And whilst Epicure is quite gullible, Surly appears to be a potential spanner in the works. What do we think of that scene? Any thoughts? Greg?
I was just going to say I love Sir Epicure Mammon.
Yeah.
Don't you? I mean, come on.
I mean, yes, the point, you can see the point. If you're, from an outsider's point of view, you know he's going to fail. You know it's going to go all horrifically wrong for him. But my God, he's got some great speeches just in that first scene. It's a wonderful imagery. I mean, that last speech. And what's hard is he is so invested in this. There's no sense of anything. You can't see anything negative about it.
Yeah.
He certainly tries his best, but there's no. Epicure is just not buying it. And it's an incredibly tough scene to read because if you were Epicure in real life, you wouldn't believe anything that wasn't saying what you were wanting to happen. But reading it, knowing what you think what's going to happen, almost you just go, no, it's hard work, hard reading it, knowing that anything could go wrong for this guy. He's lovely, love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Lynn, yeah.
Yeah, this is a great scene. It's such a good example of what Jonson is good at. I mean, the plays overall can be really quite unwieldy, and particularly his humor stuff can be like kind of tedious. But there are often these like local brilliances where like his characterization and the verse here, it's just so good. The contrast between Mammon, who is not living in reality. I mean, he can't even think it through. If everything is gold, then gold isn't valuable anymore.
No, he hasn't got that far.
Europe has already had a taste of this with the glut of Spanish gold from the. Well, that wasn't the gold the Spanish stole from the New World. Like destabilized the economy and caused inflation. Blah blah blah. So. It's like I'm going to make every bit of lead and tin and whatever in England gold. It's like, well, then gold won't be valuable because it's not rare. Are we thinking about this? And Shirley, who doesn't say much, I think might actually be in a weird way the star of this scene because like his reactions could really be hilarious, or his lack of reaction. He's just sitting there.
Yeah. Yes. It's whilst Epicure rabbits on.
Because you can like raise an eyebrow, like,
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's just hilarious. So this play is too long to do uncut, but this is something I would not want to take much of. This scene I wouldn't want to cut down too much because.
Oh no, it's a fairly short scene.
So hilarious.
Yeah, it's a fairly short scene, and it is hilarious, and it sets up these two characters really well. So I mean, I don't think there's anything, well, certainly that I would want to cut there. I'm really quite interested in the in what's happening structurally here, because well, not structurally in terms of the text, but in terms of the staging, because the whole of the first act took place inside the house. And one of the three, the tripartite of con artists was there the entire time, usually two. And this is really interesting because suddenly the action shifts. the only one of them that has a line is Face, who is, there's a little stage direction that says he's within. So presumably they are outside the house, and he just kind of sticks his head out the window and says, "Oh yeah, he's coming shortly. The doctor will see you shortly." So it's quite interesting. Like we go from these three very intense protagonists who are like into everything and doing all the scheming and there in Act One, to this kind of thing where they all like to all intents and purposes disappear, and for the first time the mark is introduced without their presence, which I find quite interesting. And I'm also thinking about how you would stage this in terms of, you know, would you have like if Face leans out of the window to say, "Oh, he'll be with you anon," or whatever, it's like, would you have subtle peering out of the window? Would you have Face peeping out of the window? Would you have Doll appearing and looking out of the window? Would there be the sense of these sort of I don't know, birds of prey in the background waiting to pounce on their victims, you know, peering at them? Or would you just have it the two characters on stage? These are questions to ponder, and if you have thoughts on the matter, then please make a comment under the video. Anyone got any thoughts on that or anything else, or shall we move on? Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost wondering, being very cynical, whether Mammon is a self-portrait of Jonson. Never use two words where 25 will do.
I can't imagine that he would. Well, put it this way. I don't think it's deliberate if it is. I don't know that he would choose to portray himself in that way. But
no, I'm not suggesting it's deliberate, but it does seem very verbose and you know, typical Jonson in many ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Would yeah, I don't think Ben Jonson's quite a cynical person. I mean, he well, I don't know if he was or not, but certainly through the work of his that I've read, he seems to be quite a cynical person. So I don't know that he'd be that gullible, but who knows? It's a thought. But we've had this really great introduction now to these two characters. So we will press on and find out what happens to them next. So they stay on stage and we go into Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Face as a servant.
And now, do we succeed? Is our day come and holds it?
The evening will set red upon you, sir. You have colour for it, crimson. The red ferment has done his office. 3 hours hence prepare you to see projection.
Thanks. My surly, again I say to thee aloud, be rich. This day thou shalt have ingots, and tomorrow give lords the affront. Is it my Zephyrus right? Blushes the bolt's head.
Like a wench with child, sir, that were but now discovered to her master.
Oh, excellent witty lungs! My only care were to get stuff enough now to project on. This town will not half serve me.
No, sir, buy the covering off the churches.
Oh, that's true.
Yes, let them stand bare, as do their auditory, or cap them new with shingles.
No, good thatch. Thatch will be light upon the rafters. Lungs, I will manumit thee with from the furnace. I will restore thee thy complexion, puff, lost in the embers. I will repair this brain hurt with the fume of the metals.
I have blown, sir, hard for your worship, thrown by many a coal. When 'twas not beach, weighed those I put in just to keep your heat still even. These bleared eyes have waked to read your several colours, sir, of the pale citron, the green lion, the crown, the peacock's tail, the plumed swan.
And lastly, thou hast described the flower, the sanguine.
Yes, sir.
Where's master?
At his prayers, sir. He, good man, he's doing his devotions for the success.
Thy lungs, I will set a period to all thy labours. Thou shalt be the master of my seraglio.
Oh, good sir.
But do you hear? I'll geld you, lungs.
Yes, sir.
For I do mean to have a list of wives and concubines equal with Solomon, who had the stone alike with me. And I will make me a back with the elixir that shall be as tough as Hercules to encounter, 50 a night. That shall the source declared.
Both blood and spirit, sir.
I will have all my beds blown up, not stuffed. Down is too hard. And then mine oval room filled with such pictures as Tiberius took from Elephantis, and dull Aretine but coldly imitated. Oh, then my glasses cut in more subtle angles to disperse and multiply the figures as I walk naked between my succubi. My mists I'll have of perfume vapored about the room to lose ourselves in, and my bars like pits to fall into, from whence we will come forth and roll us in dry gossamer and roses. Is it a ruby? But I spy worthy citizen or a rich lawyer, I'll have a sublimed pure wife unto that fellow. I'll send £1,000 to be my cuckold.
And I shall carry it?
No, I'll have no boards, but fathers and mothers. They will do it best of all others. My flatterers shall be the pure and gravest of divines that I can get for money. My mere fools, eloquent burgesses, and then my poets, the rich so subtly of the fart, whom I would entertain still for that subject. The few that would give out themselves to be court and town stallions, and each where belie ladies who are known most innocent for them. Those will I beg to make me eunuchs of, and they shall fan me with 10 ostrich tails, a piece made in plume to gather wind. We will be brave, Pa. Now we have the medicine. My meat shall all come in Indian shells, dishes of agate set in gold and studded with emeralds, sapphires, hyacinths, and rubies. Oh, the tongues of carps, dormice, and camel's heels, boiled in the spirit of soul and dissolved pearl. Apicius' diet against the epilepsy. And I will eat these broths with spoons of amber, headed with diamond and carbuncle. My footboy shall eat pheasants, carved salmons, knots, Godwin's lampreys. I myself will have the beards of barbels served instead of salads, oiled mushrooms, and the swelling unctuous paps of a fat pregnant sow, newly cut off, dressed with an exquisite and poignant sauce, for which I will say unto my cook, let's go forth, and be a knight.
Sir, I'll go look a little, how it heightens.
An exit face. Oh, I did I not unmute myself there? Exit face.
Do my shirts I'll have of taffetas, sarcenet, soft and light as cobwebs, and for all my other raiment it shall be as might provoke the Persian, were he to teach the world riot anew. My gloves of fishes and bird skins perfumed, with gums of paradise and eastern air.
And do you think to have the stone with this?
No, I do think it have all this with the stone.
Why, I have heard he must be a homo frugi, a pious, holy, and religious man, one free man from mortal sin, a very virgin.
That makes it, sir. He is so, but I buy it. My venture brings it me. He, honest wretch, and notable superstitious good soul, has worn his knees bare, and his slippers bold with prayer and fasting for it. And, sir, let him do it alone for me still. Here it comes. Not a profane word for him. 'Tis poison.
But before the alchemist enters, we get to the end of scene 2. Well, what can you say about that? I was just saying in the last scene that it's like, oh, we're taking a lot longer to set up this Mark. Like, we've got a whole scene dedicated to finding out who he is. But no, it turns out we have 2 whole scenes dedicated to finding out who he is. And yeah, okay, we've learned something new about him. Not only does he desire gold, but he also wants the how can I phrase it? The pep that owning the Philosopher's Stone is going to bring him, so that he can have 50 concubines a night and all the rest of it. So he is avaricious and lubricious. Lovely pairing. Anyone got any thoughts on this hilarious little scene? Stephen.
No, I was just thinking back to what we were saying about potentially the Marks being sort of cynical. I think I get the sense from Mammon that he isn't at all cynical. He's sort of, he may be greedy, but he's pretty, he's redeemed really by his imagination. He's so imaginative that he can't help it. Just really, he knows exactly what he wants to do with the money, and there's nothing sort of boring. He wants, his dreams are running away with him. So I think that's a sort of redeeming thing about it. You sort of start to kind of love him in a way.
Well, he's just so ridiculous, isn't he? Yeah. There's and the flights of fancy just kind of take him off. I going back to what Lynn was saying in the previous break, I would love to know what Surly's doing through most of this scene, because I think that could be absolutely hilarious. Like the bathos, depending on how he's playing it and how he's reacting. Lynn, did I see your hand there for a second? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Stephen has a great point about you kind of have to love Mammon because he's so imaginative. His lifestyles of the rich and famous fantasy, it's just like so over the top. And it's people with a lot of money and not a lot of self-awareness can be really just really vulgar, and he's kind of not that. Although it's kind of gross. It's like, oh, I'm not going to have you be my bod. My bods are always going to be my girlfriend's mother and father. That's the best. But yeah, it's just like his imagination is so lush, and he is kind of innocent. He's so naive. You kind of have to feel bad for him. He doesn't crave money for power and prestige, or at least that's not what he's fantasizing about mainly. So that's a direction that you could have gone with this. I'm just going to buy myself into king of the world, and because I like to humiliate people or something. And he doesn't do that. It's just like, I'm going to buy beauty. I'm going to buy aesthetic pleasure, which is something, I have a hard time not liking that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, a lot of characters who hoard gold or who want money in early modern dramas are quite often misers, aren't they? And he's anything but that. Clearly, he's. I did find some of it a bit revolting, actually, I have to say. I was kind of with you in terms of I was finding him fun. And then when he was going into all the food that he was going to eat, and the bit about, you know, cutting off the swelling unctuous paps of a fat pregnant sow, I was like, oh, okay, mate, you've lost me there now. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is an epicure. He's epicure Mammon, so he is. Yeah, he's reveling in the thought of all he might do with this money. For me, it kind of tipped into. I thought he went through a phase of being quite endearing, and then it kind of tipped into something so grotesque. I was like, okay, I've had enough of this guy now. But I think that in itself is quite a clever thing that Jonson's doing. Is it not?
Yeah.
You know, perhaps Greg. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen this play and I'm trying to remember it, but I almost feel like you're supposed to hate him by the end of that scene. I think you're almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because I wasn't here for the last one. I think I feel like you're supposed to feel split. You're supposed to feel sorry for almost everyone in the play, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That it's not you're not supposed to feel sorry. In most plays, you'd feel like you were going to hate Face and Subtle and Doll, sorry, and you'd feel sorry for the girls. But actually, I vaguely feel that I almost feel like you're supposed to feel mixed feelings about both sets of people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as in life, you know. I mean, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, the con artists are, I mean, they certainly have a lot of verve and life and interest, you know, and I'm entertained by them. And the marks, well, the other two marks haven't been so well drawn as this one, but I mean, yeah, I certainly went on a journey with his character through that scene. So yeah, mixed emotions from me at least. And Face is calling himself Lungs. In this particular con, which I don't know, just that sort of tickled me. The fact that he's called himself Lungs as the alchemist's sort of servant. Anyone else got anything to say? Yes, Alan.
Not sure that Face is actually self-describing himself as Lungs. I think Mammon addresses him as Lungs. He also addresses him as Pup. So I suspect it's again a characterization of this. I'm so rich and important that you, a mere servant, can be whatever name I choose to assign you.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps.
I may have missed a line when Face did self-describe, but I don't think I heard it.
No, he certainly didn't. I just assumed that he was like, yes, that was his name because that's what Mammon was calling him. And also there was something about like if he's called Lungs, you know, the fact that he's got the bellows and he's doing the, you know, keeping the fire hot for the alchemist. But maybe not. Anyone got anything else to add? No. Right then, we finished off Act 2, Scene 2 with the oh, here he comes, and so now let's meet him. Act 2, Scene 3, enter Subtle.
All right, Father.
Gentle son, good morrow, and to your friend there. What is he? Is he with you?
An heretic that I did bring along in hopes to convert him.
Son, I doubt you are covetous, that thus you meet your time in the just point. Prevent your day of mourning. This argues something worthy of a fear of importune and carnal appetite. Take heed you do not cause the blessing leave you with your ungoverned haste. I should be sorry to see my labours, now even at perfection, got by long watching and large patience, not prosper where my love and zeal have placed them, which heaven I call to witness, and with yourself, to whom I have poured my thoughts in all my ends, have looked no way but unto public good, to pious uses and dear charity, now grown a prodigy with men. Wherein, if you, my son, should now prevaricate, and to your own particular lusts employ so great and Catholic a bliss, be sure a curse will follow, yea, and overtake your subtle and most secret ways.
I know, sir. You should not need to fear me. I but come to have you confute this gentleman.
Who is indeed, sir, somewhat constitutive of belief toward your stone, would not be gulled.
Well, son, all that I can convince him in is this. The work is done. Bright soul is in his robe. We have a medicine of the triple soul, the glorified spirit. Thanks be to heaven, and make us worthy of it. Spiegel!
Anon, sir.
But well to the register, and let your heat still lessen by degrees to the aludels.
Yes, sir.
Did you look on the bolt's head yet?
Which? On D, sir.
Aye. What's the complexion?
Whitish.
Infuse vinegar to draw his volatile substance and his tincture, and let the water in glass E be filtered and put into the gripe's egg. Lute him well, and leave him closed in Valneo.
I will, sir.
And Surly, have we got what's happened here? Mm-hmm.
Surely you're muted and it's your line.
Ah,
Sorry, there you go. My fire alarm went off. Sorry. What a brave language here is next to chanting.
Another work you never saw, son, that 3 days since passed the philosopher's wheel in the Lent heat of Athenor, and has become sulphur of nature.
But 'tis for me.
What need you? You have enough in that is perfect.
But
Why, this is covetise.
no, I assure you, I should employ all in pious uses, founding of colleges and grammar schools, marrying young virgins, building hospitals, and now and then a church.
and Interface.
Now,
Sir, please you, shall I not change the filter?
marry, yes, and bring me the complexion of glass B.
Exit face.
Have you another?
Yes, son, were I assured your piety were firm, we would not want the means to glorify it, but I hope the best. I mean to tinct C in sand heat tomorrow, and give him imbibition.
Of white oil?
No, sir, of bread. F is come over the helm too, I think my maker, in St. Mary's Bath, and shows black Virginis. Blessed be heaven. I sent you of his species, then calcined. Out of that calx I have won the salt of mercury.
By pouring on your rectified water?
Yes, and reverberating in Athenor.
Interface.
How now? What colour says it?
The ground black, sir.
That's your crow's head.
Your coxcombs, is it not?
No, 'tis not perfect. Would it were the crow? That work wants something.
Oh, I look for this. The haze are pitching.
Are you sure you loosed them in their own menstru?
Yes, sir, and then married them, and put them in a bolt's head nipped to digestion, according as you bade me, when I set the liquor of Mars to circulation in the same heat.
The process then was right.
Yes, by the token, sir, the retort brake, and what was saved was put into the pelican and signed with her Hermes seal.
I think 'twas so. We should now have a new amalgam.
Oh, this ferret is rank as any polecat.
But I care not. Let him in die, we have enough beside, in embryon. H has his white shirt on?
Yes, sir, He's ripe for incineration. He stands warm in his ash fire. I would not you should let any die now, if I might counsel, sir. For luck's sake to the rest, it is not good.
He says right.
Aye, are you bolted?
Nay, I know it, sir. I have seen the ill fortune. What is some 3 ounces of fresh materials?
Is it no more?
No more, sir. Of gold, to amalgam with some 6 of mercury.
Away, here's money, but what will serve?
Ask him, sir.
How much?
Give him £9. You may give him 10.
Yes, 20 and be cousin do.
Oh, there it is.
And he gives Face the money.
This needs not, but that you will have it so to see conclusions of all. The 2 of our inferior works are at fixation. The 3rd is in ascension. Go your ways. Have you set the oil of Luna in Kernia?
Yes, sir.
And the philosopher's vinegar?
Aye.
Exit Face.
We shall,
We shall have a salad. Sorry,
Also.
When do you
it's your
make?
line, my fault.
When do you make projection?
Son, be not hasty. I exalt our medicine by hanging him in Balneo Valparaiso and giving him solution, then congeal him, and then dissolve him, then again congeal him. But look, how oft I iterate the work, so many times I add unto his virtue, as if at first 1 ounce convert 100, after his 2nd loose he'll turn 1,000, his 3rd solution 10, his 4th 100, after his 5th 1,000 ounces of any imperfect metal into pure silver or gold in all examinations, as good as any of the natural mine. Get you your stuff here against afternoon, your brass, your pewter, and your andirons.
Not those of iron.
Yes, you may bring them too. We'll change all metals.
I believe you in that.
Then I may send my spits.
Yes, and your racks.
And dripping pans, and pot hangers, and hooks. Shall he not?
If he please.
To be an ass.
How, sir?
This gentleman you must bear with all. I told you he had no faith.
And a little hope, sir, but much less charity. Should I gull myself?
Why, what have you observed, sir, in our art seems so impossible?
But your whole work, no more that for that you should hatch gold in a furnace, sir, as they do eggs in Egypt.
Sir, do you believe that eggs are hatched so?
If I should.
Why, I think that the greater miracle. No egg but differs more from a chicken more than metals in themselves.
That cannot be. The eggs ordained by nature to the end, and in it a chicken in potentia.
The same we say of lead and other metals, which would be gold, if they had time.
And that our art doth further.
Aye.
Aye,
Sorry.
aye, but 'twere absurd to think that nature and the earth bred gold, perfect in the instant. Something went before. There must be a remote matter.
Aye. What is that?
Marry, we say,
Aye, now it heats. Stand, father, bound him to dust.
it is of the one part a humid exhalation, which we call material liquida, or the unctuous water. On the other part, a certain crass and vicious portion of earth, both of which concorporate do make the elementary matter of gold, which is not propria materia, but common to all metals and all stones, for where it is forsaken of that moisture and hath more dryness, it becomes a stone. Where it retains more of the humid fatness, it turns to sulphur, or to quicksilver, or the parents of all other metals. Nor can this remote matter suddenly progress from extreme unto extreme, as to grow gold and leap over all the means. Nature doth first beget the imperfect, then proceeds she to the perfect. Of that airy and oily water, mercury is engendered, sulphur of the fat and earthy part, the one which is the last supplying the place of male, the other of the female, in all metals. Some believe in hermaphrodity, that both do act and suffer, but these two make the rest ductile, malleable, extensive, even in gold they are, for we do find seeds to them by a fire, gold in them, and can produce the species of each metal more perfect dense than nature doth in earth. Beside, who doth not see in daily practice, art can beget bees, hornets, beetles, wasps, as the carcasses and dung of creatures, yea, scorpions of an herb, being rightly placed. And these are living creatures, far more perfect and excellent than metals.
Well said, father. Nay, if he take you in handsome with an argument, he'll bray you in a mortar.
Pray you, sir, stay. Rather than I be betrayed, sir, I believe that alchemy is a pretty kind of game, somewhat like tricks of the cards, to cheat a man with charming.
Ah!
What else are all your terms whereon no one of your writers agrees with other? Of your auxilia, your like Virginius, your stone, your medicine, and your chorisperm, your sal, your sulphur, your mercury, your oil of height, your tree of life, your blood, your merchestate, your tutti, your magnesia, your toad, your crow, your dragon, your panther, your sun, your moon, your firmament, your drop, your lato, azok, zenith, chariot, heteroid, and then your red man and your white woman, with all your broths and menstruates and materials of piss and eggshells, women's terms, man's blood, hair of the head, burnt clots, chalk, murds, clay, and powder of bones, scalings of irons, glass, and worlds of other strange ingredients, would burst a man to name.
And all these named, intending but one thing, which art our writers used to obscure their art.
So I told him, because the simple idiot should not learn it and make it vulgar.
Was not
all the knowledge of my line of thinking. Was not all the knowledge of the Egyptians writ in mystic symbols? Speak not the scriptures oft in parables? Are not the choicest fables of the poets, that were the fountains and first springs of wisdom, wrapped in a perplexed allegories?
I urged that, and cleared to him that Sisyphus was damned to roll the ceaseless stone only because he would have made ours common.
And at this point, Doll appears at the door and says,
Who is this?
It's precious. What do you mean? Go in, good lady. Let me entreat you.
and at that point, Doll retires. And I'm actually just going to pause us there because this is an incredibly long scene. And we've had a lot of stuff. So let's just take a break in the middle of the action and take stock of what's going on. Does anyone actually know what's going on other than beyond the fact that, you know, this is the con of the alchemist using all his alchemical terms to, you know, gull his mark. I mean, I'm assuming for the audience in the, you know, in the 17th century, a lot of these alchemical terms would have been, you know, familiar, or at least they would have had a you know, because I know enough to know a lot of this stuff is actually, it was all to do with, you know, the supposed art and science of alchemy, all these different names and symbols and processes, but I don't know enough to actually know whether there's jokes embedded in there or what. Alan?
I think actually a lot of it is fluent gibberish.
Mm.
And in some ways is analogous to when we've had other plays with the summoning of demons,
Yeah.
where you get an awful lot of very impressive sounding pseudo-Latin. You know, and it is basically, as long as it's said at speech, because the whole point of this is not to allow the audience or the gull to actually spot that the whole thing is a pile of old toot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like this wall, isn't it? It's like this
Hmm.
wall of gibberish. But I am interested to know if, I mean, I within the general joke of this is gibberish, I am interested to know whether there are any actual individual specific lines in there that are meant to be, funny, which are kind of lost on me as a modern audience member, but might have been sort of there for anybody who kind of knew, in inverted commas, had read about alchemy at that time. I really don't know. I wonder. Yeah, like if you were doing a play set today and it was a sort of con, and you were using I don't know, the con artist was pretending to be a politician. They'd talk a load of gibberish, but they'd also drop in some stuff that was kind of topical for the time. I'm wondering if there's any in that, or maybe I'm just like trying to get too deep into it and it's just gibberish. I'm sure I saw hands there before when I was rabbiting on. Stephen.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it seems a little bit like an argument to me. Like I think there used to be part of the ancient plays that have a section that was just an argument between, of the central sort of dilemma of the play or whatever. This sounds a little bit like that they're just sort of, you've got somebody who is trying to pass themselves off as an alchemist and somebody who's putting the other point of view. So maybe Jonson's sending that up a little bit because it's all nonsense in the end. But
Yeah.
I think it struck me that I think Surly says it there. He says he's a gamester, so he knows what these tricks are, the way that you hoodwink other people in a game, So maybe he's come along out of curiosity to see how other con men do it. It seems a bit.
That's a really good point. Yeah, is he a con man himself?
He at least knows how they work. So
how it works. Yeah. That's really, I love that idea. I hadn't thought about that. Anyone else got anything to add? Lynn, is that a little yes?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've read this, and I wonder now, as fun as the exchanges between Surly and Mammon are, and as fun as this, I wonder if Surly has a structural point, or if he's just there as a foil. Someone for Mammon to talk to, and someone for Subtle to, and an excuse for Subtle to, sort of do this bravura monologue about alchemical nonsense. Be nice if he ends up being the one who basically, or if he ends up being instrumental in exposing the con artists, so that he has a reason for being there other than just to be someone to bounce these other characters off of.
We shall find out in due course. If no one has anything else to add, let's press on. So Dol has just popped in.
What's all this then?
Yes, she's popped in apparently by chance, but I'm pretty sure that was intentional, so that Mammon gets to see her. And Subtle sort of tells her to, like, go in, good lady, go away, and she retires. And then Subtle continues with,
"Where's the varlet?"
Sir?
And enter Face. Sorry.
Sir?
You very knave. Do you use me thus?
Wherein, sir?
Go in and see, you traitor. Go!
And exit Face.
Who is it, sir?
Nothing, sir, nothing.
What's the matter, good sir? I have not seen you thus distempered. Who is it?
All art still had, sir, their adversaries. Ours the most ignorant.
And enter Face.
What now?
It was not my fault, sir. She would speak with you.
Would she, sir? Follow me.
And exit Subtle, and Face makes to leave.
Stay, Lungs.
I dare not, sir.
Stay, man. What is she?
Our lord's sister, sir.
How? Pray thee stay.
She's mad, sir, and sent hither. He'll be mad too.
I warrant thee. Why sent hither?
Sir, to be cured.
Why, rascal,
Lo, you. Here, sir.
And exit face.
Oh, God, a bradamante. Oh, a brave peace.
Hart, this is a bawdy house. I'll be burnt else.
Oh, by this light, no. Oh, do not wrong him. He's too scrupulous that way. It is his vice. No, he's a rare physician. Oh, and has do him right, an excellent Paracelsian, and has done strange cures with mineral physic. He deals all with spirits. He will not hear a word of Galen or his tedious recipes.
And interface.
And our lungs.
Softly, sir, speak softly. I meant to have told your worship all. This must not hear.
Oh, he will not be gulled. Let him alone.
You are very right, sir. She is a most rare scholar, and is gone mad with studying Broughton's works. If you but name a word touching the Hebrew, she falls into a fit, and will discourse so learnedly of genealogies as you would run mad too to hear her, sir.
How might one do it to have conference with her lungs?
Oh, divers have run mad upon the conference. I do not know, sir. I am sent in haste to fetch a vial.
Be not gulled, Sir Mammon.
Well, then, pray ye be patient.
Yes, as you are. And trust confederates, knaves, and bawds and whores.
Oh, you are too foul, believe it. Come here, all in one word.
I dare not, in good faith.
And face makes to leave.
Stay late.
He is extreme angry that you saw her, sir.
Take that.
And he gives him money.
Is she when she's out of her fit?
Oh, the most affablest creature, sir. So merry, so pleasant. She'll mount you up like quicksilver, over the helm, and circulate like oil. A very vegetal discourse of state, of mathematics, poetry, anything.
Is she nowhere accessible? No means, no trick to give a man a taste of her wit or so? Subtle.
Bottle.
Ulan.
I'll come to you again, sir.
And exit face.
Sorry, I did not think one of your breeding would produce personages of worth.
Sir Epicure, your friend to use, yet still loath to be gulled. I do not like your philosophical bawds. The stone is lechery enough to pay for without this bait.
Oh, Sart, you abuse yourself. I know the lady and her friends and means the original of this disaster. Her brother has told me all.
And yet you never saw her till now.
Oh, yes, but I forgot. I have, believe it, one of the treacherous memories, treacherousest memories I do think of all mankind.
What? Call you her brother?
My lord! He will not have his name known now I think of it.
Aye, very treacherous memory.
Oh, my faith!
Tut, if you have not about you, pass it till we meet next.
By this hand, 'tis true, he's one I honour, my noble friend, and I respect his house.
Ha, can it be that a grave sir, a rich that has no need, a wise sir to all other times, should thus, with his own oaths and arguments, make hard means to gull himself? And this be your exedia, your lapis mineralis, and your lunary. Give me your honest trick, yet primario or Gleek, and take your lanthum spectres, your menestrum simplex. I'll have gold before you, and with less danger of the quicksilver or the hot sulphur.
And enter face.
Here's one from Captain Face, sir. Desires you meet him in the Temple Church, some half hour hence, and upon earnest business. Sir, If you please to quit us now and come again within 2 hours, you shall have my master busy examining of the works, and I will steal you in unto the party, that you may see her converse. Sir, shall I say you'll meet the captain's worship?
Sir, I will.
And Surly walks aside.
But by turning into a second purpose, now I am sure 'tis a bawdy house. I'll swear it, and with the marshal here to thank me, the naming this commander doth confirm it. Don Face, why, he's the most authentic dealer in these commodities, the superintendent to all the quinta traffickers in town. He is the visitor and does appoint who lies with whom, and at what hour, what price, which gown, and in what smock, what fall and what tire. Him will I prove by a third person to find the subtleties of this dark labyrinth, which, if I do discover, dear Sir Mammon, you'll give your poor friend leave, though no philosopher to laugh, for you that are, 'tis thought, and shall weep.
Sir, he does pray. You'll not forget.
I will not, sir. Sir Epicure, I shall leave you.
And exit Surly.
I follow you straight.
But do so, good sir, to avoid suspicion. This gentleman has a parlous head.
But wilt thou, Ewan, be constant to my promise, to thy promise?
As my life, sir.
And wilt thou insinuate what I am, and praise me, and say I am a noble fellow?
Oh, what else, sir? And that you'll make her royal with the stone, an empress, and yourself king of Bantam.
Wilt thou do this?
Will I, sir?
Lungs, my lungs, I love thee.
Send your stuff, sir, that my master may busy himself about projection.
Thou hast witched me, rogue. Take, go.
And he gives him money.
Your jack and all, sir.
Thou art a villain. I will send my jack and the weights too. Slave, I can bite thine ear away. Thou dost not care for me.
Not I, sir.
Come, I was born to make thee my good weasel, set thee on a bench and have thee twirl a chain with the best lord's vermin of them all.
Away, sir.
A count, nay, a Count Palatine!
Good, sir, go.
Shall not advance thee better, no, nor faster.
And Mammon exit. Face remains on stage, and that's the end of that scene. So the plot thickens. We've had the appearance of Doll, who is masquerading as a mad Lord's sister. Very learned, but has gone mad from too much reading. Be careful, ladies, it can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did quite like that little sort of side plot where Face came to Surly and said, "Oh, there's a Captain Face wants to meet you at the Temple Church." It's just basically, yeah, he's talking about himself. That I don't know, that just tickled me. So presumably he's got his disguise as the Alchemist's apprentice. He's wearing quite a heavy disguise, so he's able to go. He's going to go and meet him as Captain Face in the church, and that presumably is just to get him out of the way, because he's really being far too sensible. Surly, he's being far too wise and knowing and cynical for this con to work. So they just have to get him out of the way, and there is a lot more alchemical gibberish that goes on. I don't really want to make any sort of decisions about this while we're still reading it, but I am wondering if some of this gibberish could be cut, actually. I mean, it's fun and done at speed, it would be hilarious, but I'm wondering if you could just cut some of it. What do people think? Yeah, a little bit. Don't want too much of a good thing, maybe. Alan.
I think the whole point would be But if you've got an actor who can actually do it at absolute breakneck speed, fine, let them get on with it. Because it is that sheer wave of words that I think is part of the setup.
Yeah, I just wonder if you could create the same bewildering, dazzling, gibberish effect with just, you know, less of it. But yeah, that's something you'd have to go into when you were workshopping it. Anyone got anything else to add at this? Yeah, Lynn.
I wonder if Dahl's appearance is actually accidental and they have to improvise this story about her. That would also be funny.
Yes, it would actually. Yeah. Yes, I just assumed it was deliberate, but yeah, she could just sort of
Oh shoot. And then the men somehow make up this story that
story. Yeah. On their feet, thinking on their feet. Yeah. Alan.
I'm not convinced that it's accidental, because I think maybe where we're heading is partly this is a honey trap. And it's set up as a way of giving Mammon something to gawp at and thinking, oh yeah, I want a bit of that.
Yeah, that was certainly how I interpreted it when she came on. But I think I don't know, unless we hear otherwise. I mean, when they're next all alone together, we might discover that this was a long laid plot. But if not, then I think that alternative way of playing it could be quite fun too. I mean, they're both quite fun. Let's face it. This is that is the joy of this play. Whichever way you take it, it's going to be funny. You'd have to do a lot to kind of not make it funny, I think, which is anyone got anything else to add at this stage? No? Right, then let's press on. We go into Act 2, Scene 4. Face is still on stage, and into him enters Subtle and Doll.
Has he bid?
And swallowed too, my Subtle. I have given him line, and now he plays, i'faith.
Shall we twitch him?
Thorough both the gills. A wench is a rare bait, and which a man no sooner's taken, but he straight firks mad.
Doll, my Lord Watson's sister, you must now bear yourself stately.
Oh, let me alone. I'll not forget my race, I warrant you. I'll keep my distance, laugh and talk aloud, have all the tricks of a proud, scurvy lady, and be as rude as her woman.
Well said, Sanguine.
But will he send his andirons?
His jack too, and iron shoeing horn. I have spoke to him. Well, I must not lose my wary gamester yonder.
Oh, monsieur, caution, that will not be gulled.
Aye, if I can strike a fine hook into him now. The Temple Church, there I have cast mine angle. Well, pray for me, I'll about it.
And there's a knocking without.
More gudgeons, Doll, scout.
Doll goes to the window.
Stay, Face, you must go to the door. Pray God it be my Anabaptist. Who is Doll?
I know him not. He looks like a gold end man.
What so? Does he? He said he would send, what you call him, the sanctified elder that should deal the Mammon's jack and andirons. Let him in. Stay. Help me up first with my gown.
And exit Face with the gown.
Away, madam, to your withdrawing chamber.
And exit Doll.
Now, in a new tune, new gesture, but old language. This fellow is sent from one negotiates with me about the stone too, for the holy brethren of Amsterdam, the exiled saints that hope to raise their discipline by it. I must use him in some strange fashion now to make him admire me.
and Subtle remains on stage, but that is the end of the scene. That was a short one. So we've had quite a sort of static. Well, I say static. No doubt, there's been a lot of physicality and shenanigans through that whole previous scene with Mammon, but they have gone, and we have the three conspirators meeting again. It does sound like the doll plot was set up in advance, but yeah, I don't know. I still like the idea of her just walking in and then making something of it. And now we have yet another. So this is gull number 4. Gull number 4, please. Who's about to come in. From the Holy Brethren of Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the three con artists have checked in with each other before we go into the next con. Anyone got anything to say about this very short little scene?
Yeah, I would really like to find a modern equivalent of the Holy Brethren. Those are the Anabaptists, or some sect of extreme Puritans who couldn't practice openly in England because they were just too far away from the Church of England, doctrinally, and everybody hated them. Yeah, and they were widely thought to be hypocrites. I mean, Jonson clearly thought so. There's a character who's a hypocritical evangelical in Bartholomew Fair as well. So I mean, this type still exists. People who pretend to be really holy but are really quite venal and quite mercenary. I would want to make that really clear.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's so many different marks, and yeah, Jonson, he is kind of laying I mean, we've had a lot more about Epicure Mammon than anyone else so far, but he is kind of laying the ground, isn't he, to sort of show, there are lots of different types of people out there who can be fooled in different ways. But I guess this would be this kind of the idea of the sort of very fundamental evangelical religious hypocrite would be quite a sort of popular type of mark for this kind of drama.
Most of the audience would not mind seeing, being taken advantage of.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, let's see how he turns out. Anyone got anything else to add? No? Okay, let's press on then. Subtle is on stage alone, and enter Anaias.
Drudge.
And enter Face.
Sir?
Take away the recipient and rectify your menstrue from the phlegma, then pour it on the soul in the curcubite and let them macerate together.
Yes, sir. And save the ground?
No, terra damnata does not have entrance in the work. Who are you?
A faithful brother, if it please you.
What's that, a Lullianist, a Ripley, bilious artist? Can you sublime and dulcify, calcine? Know you the sapor pontic, sapor styptic, or what is homogene or heterogene?
I understand no heathen language, truly.
Heathen? You nipperdoling. Is ars sacra, or crucifera, or spaghettieric, or pamphisic, or panarchic knowledge a heathen language?
Heathen Greek, I take it.
How, heathen Greek?
All's heathen but the Hebrew.
Sirrah, my varlet, stand you forth and speak to him like a philosopher. Answer in the language. Name the vexations and the martyrizations of metals in the work.
Sir, putrefaction, solution, ablution, sublimation, cohobation, calcination, serration, and fixation.
This is heathen Greek to you now. And when comes vivification?
After mortification.
What's cohobation?
'Tis the pouring on your aqua regis and then drawing him off to the trine circle of the seven spheres.
What's the proper passion of metals?
Malleation.
What's your ultimum supplicum ori?
Antimonium.
This is heathen Greek to you. And what's your mercury?
A very fugitive, he will be gone, sir.
How know you him?
By his viscosity, his oleosity, and his suscitability.
How do you sublime him?
With the calx of eggshells, white marble, talc.
Your magisterium now. What's that?
Shifting, sir, your elements, dry into cold, cold into moist, moist into hot, hot into dry.
This is heathen Greek to you still. Your lapis philosophicus.
It is a stone and not a stone, a spirit, a soul, and a body, which if you do dissolve, it is dissolved. If you coagulate, it is coagulated. If you make it fly, it flieth.
Oh, enough.
And exit face.
This is heathen Greek to you. What are you, sir?
Please you, a servant of the exiled brethren, that deal with the widows and with orphans good, and make a just account in the saints of a deacon.
Oh, you're sent from Master Wholesome, your teacher.
From Tribulation Wholesome, a very zealous pastor.
Good. I have some orphans' goods to come here.
Of what kind, sir?
Pewter and brass, andirons and kitchenware, metals that we must use our medicine on, wherein the brethren may have a penneth for ready money.
Were the orphans' parents sincere professors?
Why do you ask?
Because when they are deal justly and give in truth their utmost value.
Stead you cousin else, and if their parents were not of the faithful, I will not trust you now, I think on it, till I've talked with your pastor. Have you brought money to buy more coals?
No, surely.
No? How so?
The brethren bid me say unto you, sir, surely that you'll not venture any more till they may see projection.
How?
You have had for the instruments as bricks and loam and glasses already £30, and for materials they say some 90 more, and they have heard since that one in Hellsberg made it with an egg and a small peanut of paper dust.
What's your name?
My name is Anaias.
Out. The varlet, the cousin, the apostles. Hence, away. Flee, mischief. Had your holy consistory no name to send me of another sound than wicked Anaias? Send your elders hither to make atonement for you quickly, and give me satisfaction, or out goes the fire, and down the alembics in the furnace. Hide your Henricus, or what? Sericon and Buffo shall be lost. Tell them all hope of rooting out the bishops or the anti-Christian hierarchy shall perish if they stay 80 minutes. The equality, terrority, and sulphurity shall run together again, and all be annulled. Ananias.
And exit Ananias.
This will fetch them and make them haste towards their gulling more. A man must deal like a rough nurse, and fright those that are froward to an appetite.
And Subtle remains on stage, but that is the end of that scene. So we've met Ananias, the Anabaptist. What do we think of him? I don't know that I think anything of him, actually. Alan?
Not very well described, and he hasn't really had that much of a chance to get many words in, has he?
No.
Again, there's this wall of words from Subtle.
It's interesting. I'm finding this whole thing of like how much we're given of the marks. I'm finding it really interesting. Maybe because of what Lynn was saying earlier about the fact that, you know, Anabaptists were these very, very rigid Puritans who were kind of hated in England. Maybe Jonson felt that he didn't need to set up the character because the character kind of spoke for himself, just for, you know, the type of man he was. Maybe that's why we don't get that much of him. Connor, did I see a hand from you there, or was that a no? I didn't. Okay, back to Alan.
Maybe Anaias is actually defined more by his costume, because the dress code among some of the sects was fairly strict. You know, analogous to if it had been an anti-Catholic play of someone in a friar's robe or a nun's outfit.
Yeah, and the costume becomes the shortcut for like, this is what the audience is supposed to feel about this character, so we don't need to put it into the text. Maybe. I don't know. Lynn, did you have any further thoughts on that scene?
Well, Ananias seems to be at least somewhat skeptical. It's like, we've already spent all this money. But I'm just here representing. Yeah, it's weird that there are two Puritans. Like, he's Tribulation is the main guy. He's the person with authority, and Anaias is just sort of his agent or his assistant. So I mean, I wonder if there's a reason for that structurally.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe Tribulation's going to turn up later and cause tribulation. Who knows? It's interesting though. Yeah, it's like, why mention him if he's not going to turn up? Why not just make Ananias the Anabaptist?
And if he does turn up, why have Ananias at all?
Yeah, true. We shall find out. We shall see. Anyone else got anything further to add about that scene? No? Okay, then we will go into Act 2, Scene 6. It's a longer act, this one. So Subtle is still on stage, and to him enters Face in his uniform, followed by Drugger. So we have the reappearance of Mark II from the first act.
He is busy with his spirits, but we'll upon him.
Oh no, what balance have we here?
I told you he would be furious, sir. Here's Nab. Has brought you another piece of gold to look on. We must appease him, give it me, and praise you. You would devise, what is it, Nab?
A sign, sir.
Aye, a good lucky one, a thriving sign, Doctor.
I was devising now.
Slight, do not say so. He will repent he gave you any more. What say you to his constellation, Doctor? The balance?
No, that way is stale and common. A townsman born in Taurus gives the bull, or the bull's head. In Aries, the ram. No, poor device. No, I will have his name formed in some mystic character, whose radii, striking the senses of the passers-by, shall by a virtual influence breed affections that may result upon the party owns it, as thus.
Nab.
He shall have a bell, that's a bell, and by it standing one whose name is D, in a rug gown. There's D, and rug, that's drug. And right anenst him, a dog snarling, ah! There's Drugger, Drugger, that's his sign. And here's now mystery and hieroglyphic.
Abel, thou art made.
Sir, I do thank his worship.
6 of thy legs more will not do it, Nab. He has brought you a pipe of tobacco, Doctor.
Yes, sir. I have another thing I would impart.
Out with it, Nab.
Sir, there is lodged hard by me a rich young widow.
Ah, good. A bona roba.
But 19 at the most.
Very good, Abel.
Mary, she's not in fashion yet. She wears a hood, but it stands a cop.
No matter, Abel.
And now I do now and then give her a fucus.
What? Dost thou deal, Nab?
I did tell you, Captain.
And physic too, sometimes, sir, for which she trusts me with all her mind. She's come up here of purpose to learn the fashion.
Good. His match too. On, Nab.
And she does strangely long to know her fortune.
Odds lid, Nab. Send her to the doctor hither.
Yes, I have spoke to her of his worship already, but she's afraid it would be blown abroad and hurt her marriage.
Hurt it? 'Tis the way to heal it, if it were hurt. To make it more followed and sought. Nab, thou shalt tell her this. She'll be more known, more talked of, and your widows are ne'er of any price till they be famous. Their honour is their multitude of suitors. Send her, it may be thy good fortune. What? Thou dost not know.
No, sir, she'll never marry under a knight. Her brother has made a vow.
What? And dost thou despair, my little Nab, knowing what the doctor has set down for thee, and seeing so many of the city dubbed? One glass of thy water, with a madam I know, will have it done, Nab. What's her brother, a knight?
No, sir, a gentleman, newly warm in his land, sir, scarce cold in his 21, that does govern his sister here, and is a man himself of some 3,000 a year, and is come up to learn to quarrel, and to live by his wit, and will go down again, and die in the country.
How? To quarrel?
Yes, sir, to carry quarrels as gallants do, to manage them by line.
Slid, Nab, the doctor is the only man in Christendom for him. He has made a table with mathematical demonstrations touching the art of quarrels. He will give him an instrument to quarrel by. Go, bring them both, him and his sister, and for thee, with her the doctor happily may persuade. Go to. Shalt give his worship a new damask suit upon the premises.
Oh, good captain.
He shall. He is the honestest fellow, doctor. Stay not. No offers. Bring the damask and the parties.
I'll try my power, sir.
And thy will too, Nab.
'Tis good tobacco, this. What is't an ounce?
He'll send you £1, doctor.
Oh, no.
He will do it. It is the goodest soul. Abel, about it. Thou shalt know more anon. Away, begone.
And exit Abel Drugger.
A miserable rogue, and lives with cheese, and has the worms. That was the cause indeed. Why, he came now, he dealt with me in private, and get a medicine for them.
And shall, sir, this works.
A wife for one on us, my dear Suckle. Well, e'en draw lots, and he that fails shall have the more in goods, the other has in tail.
Rather less, for she may be so light, she may want grains.
Ay, or be such a burden. A man would scarce endure her for the whole.
Faith, best let's see her first, and then determine.
Content, but dole must have no breath on it.
Away you to your surly yonder. Catch him.
Pray God I have not stayed too long.
I fear it.
And they all exit. And that is the end of Act 2. And we round it off there with a nice little bit of misogyny. Just throwing that into the mix. What did we think of Scene 6? Any thoughts? We've got yet another Mark being introduced here, potentially. Mark/victim. A young widow who wants to know her fortune. And one of them is going to, well, they're hoping that one of them is going to marry her. Alan, did I see a hand there?
Yeah, it's another one of these which Jonson seems quite fond of, setting up at the end of an act, and here's what's coming up after the commercial break.
Yeah, I wonder if this was the... Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, that was the point. That which, to a certain extent, it's a like a hook a baited hook to make sure the audience come back from the break.
Yeah, it does seem that that's where the interval was. I mean, we're not halfway through the play, but yeah, it's the first time, I think, since the beginning of the play that everyone's gone off. So I guess there was an interval there.
Was there a gap at the 1 into 2? I can't
No,
remember.
no, there wasn't. The characters stayed on stage. So yeah, everyone exits, and yeah, that's at least okay. So we've had five potential marks set up. So it's been a busy morning.
Yes.
Anyone got anything to say about that final little short scene? Lynn?
I did love that moment when Face says, "Oh, he's got a table for that, a mathematical thing." It's like he's got a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It's like, if he does this, you do this, and this is the like, I don't know, something about a table. It's so persuasive. There's something about it being mathematical that's I mean, it still is. When I was one of my mentors when I was in graduate school said that when she started using a rubric for grading, students stopped arguing with her about their grades.
Oh, really?
You give them the same grades, but you put it in a table, and it just looks legit, you know?
Yeah. Just looks, more formal, and you can't argue with a table. Yeah. Yeah, there were some nice little details in the scene. I did like the line from Drugger, and I do now and then give her a fuckus. Fuckus being red dye, of course, which everybody knows. Clearly, he's talking about red dye. He's not talking about anything else.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rob has just dropped into the chat that the stage was clear between Act 1 and 2. So you were maybe right there, Alan. I thought one of them was stayed on stage in the gap between 1 and 2, but I'm obviously wrong. Right. If no one has anything else to add about that scene, then we will go into final thoughts. So I will start with Stephen. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, it still feels like the things are being set up in this section of the play. I think, there's a lot there that's interesting. I was just thinking back to what we were saying about potentially what are the modern equivalents of it, and I think it's a sort of play that I don't think you could really modernize too much. I think it's probably something that if I was staging it, I would do it set in 16th century or 17th century. And let the audience sort of draw its own sort of conclusions, because we all have our, there are still popular, delusions or whatever happening now. You could point to any number of them, but it's, I suppose, allowing space for the audience to sort of draw that out, because a lot of this stuff about alchemy would be very difficult to sort of find an immediate modern equivalent, So I think maybe if I was approaching it, it would just be doing it as a period piece. I just struck me that the whole thing is just like this is character actor central. This is something that actors would love to do, because it's one of the things I think actors love about like con men stories is that they're kind of, you get to play lots of different characters in one character. Face is doing it in different scenes all the time, and everyone is. And plus you've got the marks who are also very, very strong. Almost grotesque characters like Mammon and even Anaias. It can be something very striking and different. So I think there's a lot to enjoy for the actors there, and that's my thoughts about this part.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and this is presumably why this play does get done quite often, relatively speaking, in comparison to a lot of the plays we look at. Just because actors want to do it. It's like let's stage The Alchemist, because there are just so many. I don't think we've had we haven't had a dull part yet, really. Every single part's been pretty fabulous. Connor, what are your thoughts?
Actually, the opposite to what was just said by Stephen. I'm kind of
really?
I'm getting turned off by it. I'm just getting bored by the con. But then I'm not a big kind of comedy fan.
Right.
Is everyone just really stupid in those times? Is that all this stupidity? What happened? I don't know.
To be fair, I don't think it was just those times.
I mean, maybe if you modernized it, didn't it? TikTok videos, it's the kind of thing that, you know, people are fooled by what they see on social media, and kind of reminds me a bit like that, like these kind of vulgar shadow characters that perhaps are on social media now, perhaps with some of them. But yeah, Mammon was just getting a bit too much, repetitive, and I was getting, yeah, you said it once, now you said it 5 times. So I'm kind of seeing, because I don't know much Jonson, so now I'm seeing the kind of the Jonson loves to hear his own voice kind of thing.
Yes, you understand now what Aliki was talking about in the last session.
Yeah. Yes, they just flowed so nicely, but today is just going on and on and on. You're like, yeah, thanks, great, got it.
Maybe room for cuts then in this act.
That's from Mammon, just a bit of half his stuff, and it would still make sense.
Or not. But still not make sense in the way it's supposed to not make sense. Yeah. I don't wish to get political, but I'm going to, just on the topic of people being gullible. I did read a statistic the other day that about 30% of the US population, with apologies to you, Lynn, about 30% of the US population still believes that the last election there was fraudulent. So, you know, 30% of the population taken in by by one massive con. I don't know. The fact that they found 5 stupid people, well, no, 4 to be fair, 4 stupid people so far, I don't think it's too much of a stretch. But anyway, leaving that aside,
election as well. See what happens there. I mean,
yeah, yes.
I mean,
and 63.5% of statistics made up on the spot, says Alan. Touche. Alan, I'm going to come to you for your final thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's flowing quite well, although, as Connor said, it does get a tad repetitive. There's some nice set pieces, but it's another one of these where until we get to Act 5 and we know how it all turns out, it's very difficult to see where you can prune without inadvertently taking out a main branch.
Yeah. No,
I think it's one of these we've got to get to the end before we can then say, yeah, okay, that bit was to throw.
There's definite room for trims here, but we don't quite know yet where they're going to come. Good. And to wrap things up, Lynn, do you have any final thoughts to add?
I mean, sort of in response to your observation about, yes, were people more gullible back then? Oh no. I mean, you know, without getting political, flat earthers.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, people are still selling miracle diet products. I mean, if they worked, obesity would not be a serious medical problem. If that stuff worked, no one would be overweight. But people believe, you know, in Bitcoin and I think Stephen might be right that there isn't really a modern equivalent of the Philosopher's Stone. It's not like the universal like all powerful aspirational object the way the Philosopher's Stone was. Everything is sort of more specific, like fad diets and Bitcoin and various other cons. You know, the famous Nigerian prince who wants to, you know, the Nigerian prince in your email. So maybe it is kind of a fool's errand to try to modernize it, and it might be a good idea, like he said, to let the audience do the intellectual work of thinking of the modern equivalents. And I also agree that there's too much. Mammon is a delight in a lot of ways, but you know, there's a saying in writing, you got to kill your darlings, and Jonson was bad at that. So I think it would be really a lot of work and really challenging, but maybe kind of fun to try to edit this down to 2 hours. Like, do you want to take out all characters? Like, do you want to take Dapper out, or do you want to conflate Dapper and Drugger? Do you need them? I think I'm really interested in this, in the editing down potential of this. But I agree with Alan. You need to see the thing. You have to have the bird's eye view from the end of the play to make a lot of those decisions.
Great. Well, thank you very much. At this point, I will hand back over to Rob, who has miraculously appeared into the room.
Yes, I was here all along. Honest. Yeah. So we're identifying elements where Jonson is doing what he does a lot, which is if I've got this joke concept, I will now reiterate it in several different variations, and the great opportunity that gives for us is to choose the variation we like. If it's a long speech with lots of variations on the same concept, you choose the one you like and then you move on. Too much stuff is not a problem. It is an opportunity, not a burden. I will keep saying this, just as a counter, just to make it really clear. And in that sense, it's not something that you need to worry about and wait till Act 5 to actually discuss, because you can actually go, well, this is a repetition, therefore we've already established a plot point, so if it is a plot point later on, it's already established. It's not like you need to worry about that on a structural level. And yeah, there is a question here about... which we won't know until the end, how many of these journeys are really necessary. I think part of the pleasure here is that they are spinning plates. And if you reduce the number of plates, they're not spinning as many plates. And then, someone spinning one plate is not an exciting show. Spinning 12 plates, that's exciting. Now, there's a balancing act that may be needed there, and an interesting question. And it's also a question of when we talk about making things accessible and making things up to date, and is you don't necessarily have to give people the exact analog or the exact thing, so long as they understand the concept. I don't think anyone doesn't understand the concept of the Philosopher's Stone, thanks to a series of children's novels. It's if it had disappeared from the lexicon, it's kind of back. So I don't know that anyone doesn't know that. So that's the kind of reference I don't worry about too much. It's when it's deeply obscure that you need to worry a bit, and it's the question of with Anaias, the kind of shtick going on there. Does that function as a model? Well, elements of it does, elements of it doesn't, and it's a question of whether the dialogue quite delivers what you want or not, or what adjustments you may or may not make there. I'm just throwing out options at this stage because I really wasn't paying attention. I'm sure you had a lovely time. So that was it for the first two acts, and we can definitely talk about how gullible people were in the period next time when we go into Act 3. If you'd like to join us for future readings, you can't join us for this one. I know you may have watched this video. If you want to sign up and join us, this happened a year ago. I'm sorry. That's how far ahead we work. But if you'd like to join us reading random plays, there are sign-up forms on our website. You can come and join us and do that reading thing. BeyondShakespeare.org. Links are in the show description. Otherwise, all that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Insert quote here.